Earlier in the show, we talked about the 49ers and how, Jimmy Garoppolo, a lot of people want to see him gone in San Francisco, or at least the organization, the front office wants to see him gone. Obviously, reports of the 49ers trading for Matthew Stafford. Now there's reports that the 49ers are wanting to trade for Kirk Cousins, although I don't think Kirk Cousins would necessarily be an upgrade over Jimmy Garoppolo. But that's neither here nor there. In an NFL in which it's increasingly apparent that the relationships between coaches and quarterbacks and general managers, in an NFL in which those relationships appear to change on the daily, it is so refreshing to see a relationship like Tua Tagovailoa with Ryan Fitzpatrick and Brian Flores in Miami. It is so refreshing to see that relationship. I don't know if it's because the league is really turning into a pass-dominant league and the quarterback is more important of a role than it's ever been before. It feels like that quarterback role is really just increasing in importance, even more so than it was even 10 years ago, I would argue. Maybe it's because it's such a pass-dominant league now. Throwing is the new running. I mean, I wasn't old enough to enjoy like Barry Sanders, Walter Payton. I wasn't old enough to enjoy those running backs, those insane running backs. I think, the first running backs that I remember being completely dominant was like LaDainian Tomlinson and Adrian Peterson. Like, those are the first big running back names that I remember being completely dominant, and that was maybe 13 years ago at this point. Sure, the league is different, and now it's a pass-dominant league, and maybe that's why, relationships between quarterbacks and head coaches and ownership seem to shift so much because it's so important. But when you take a look at, what's going on in San Francisco with Garoppolo, how Jared Goff was traded away from LA, and, he gets up in his press conference and he says, essentially, it's exciting to have a team that wants me again. And keep in mind, Goff took the Rams to the or not took. I hate that expression because it can be really misleading as to what actually happened during the season. But he was a part of a Rams team that went to the Super Bowl 2 years ago. You take a look at now his relationship with the LA Rams, and they didn't want him anymore after a couple of mass seasons. And sure, it's understandable, but that seems to be a developing trend in the NFL where quarterbacks are starting to get less and less leashes, and, ownerships and general managers and front offices can be really hot and cold on their quarterbacks based on recent play. It is more or less a what have you done for me lately league than it's ever been before. So when I take a look at what Tua and the Dolphins have, it's so refreshing to see that relationship. It makes me so happy. This is probably one of the few instances in the NFL where a quarterback loves the team as much as the team apparently loves the quarterback. So much so that, they've come out multiple times and said, we don't want Deshaun Watson. We already have our quarterback. Tua went on ESPN a couple times. He had a couple of interviews with Mike Green, in which he said he was disappointed with how he played in year one, is focused on being better and working on his game in year two. And he said something that I absolutely loved, and sure, it's a little bit misquoted, but essentially he said, I am the quarterback of the Miami Dolphins, or I am the Miami Dolphins quarterback. And Ryan Fitzpatrick chimed in later and said that he has confidence that Tua is going to be better this year. He's going to have a full off season. He's going to have preseason. He's going to have extra time to get used to the NFL. And he also basically reaffirmed that, yeah, the Dolphins like Tua Tagovailoa, which, again, is such a refreshing dynamic to have a player that loves the team as much as the team apparently loves the player. Now, sure, a lot of this could be smoke and mirrors. Who knows what's said behind closed doors? I'm not there. I can't tell you. But in a current NFL in which it seems like the relationships between quarterbacks, coaches, and general managers seems to be constantly changing and an uncertain commodity, this is a breath of fresh air to have a quarterback and a team that love each other equally. And, I really hope that continues into the NFL because being a Dolphins fan growing up, and sure, I've had to, one of the things about being a reporter is that you kind of lose your sense of fanism, I guess. You lose your senses as a fan because being in the press box, you can't cheer. Some press boxes are a little bit more relaxed than others, but in most press boxes that I've been in, you're not allowed to cheer like at all. So you kind of have to subdue the fan in you, and it's lost me some of my fandom to where now I look at everything objectively almost. But with that being said, growing up a Dolphins fan, I can't remember a time in which the Dolphins had a quarterback that actually wanted to be there, and I can't remember the time that the Dolphins actually, loved their quarterback. They loved their situation at quarterback. Even with Ryan Tannehill, it never felt like they were 100% committed to Tannehill. And I remember going up, watching Jay Fielder, Jay Feely, and actually, it's kind of funny that, just thinking through the list of quarterbacks, kind of a similar situation to what's going on now. Drew Brees became a free agent in the 2003-2004 season, and the Dolphins passed on him. And obviously, Drew Brees went to the Saints, and he had a Hall of Fame, one of the best quarterback of all time careers. And, just thinking about how, Drew Brees was available then, and the Dolphins didn't take him then, and now Deshaun Watson is available now. What would happen if they made that choice again and they didn't go with the free agent quarterback and they went with the quarterback that they have? Obviously, it's a little bit different, but that's interesting to think about. Would it result in a similar situation in which missing out on Deshaun Watson would, and here we go talking about Deshaun Watson again, after in the last segment I said, I'm tired of talking about Deshaun Watson. It'd be interesting to see if they make a similar choice and it ends up similarly. I don't think it will because, you think about the quarterback at the time. I can't remember if it was Jay Feely or Jay Fielder. Dante Culpepper was eventually the quarterback that the Dolphins ended up signing, and he was absolutely horrendous. Obviously, it was a little bit different then as where it is to now, where the Dolphins clearly love Tua, and Tua really loves the Dolphins. It's interesting to see how that plays out, but it's just so refreshing to have this relationship, and I'm so, happy that Tua was able to go to the Dolphins and Fitzpatrick was able to mentor him. And if I'm the Dolphins, I'm doing everything that I can to keep Fitzpatrick in Miami. I understand that, Fitzpatrick still believes that he can start. He can still be a starting NFL quarterback, and there's definitely teams that are looking for quarterbacks. The Patriots definitely could use somebody like Ryan Fitzpatrick. But if I'm the Dolphins, I'm doing everything to keep that relationship as pure and happy as it could be. Because not only is it rare, but I think it's very authentic, and it's great for culture building, which has been one of the main problems that the Dolphins have had for years and years and years and years, is building a strong culture in which people actually want to play in Miami. And again, Tua wants to play in Miami. Miami wants Tua there. It's one of the rare situations that I can remember in the last 5 or 6 years in this developing league where the quarterback matters more than ever before. In which, relationships change on the daily. What have you done for me lately type of league where quarterbacks like Jimmy Garoppolo, who was in the Super Bowl the season previous to this one, who's now on the trading block because of a couple of bad games early in the season. It's interesting. That's such a crazy dynamic, and it's so refreshing. It's a breath of fresh air to see that kind of dynamic in today's NFL. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching this segment from the Hard Headed Sports Podcast. You've heard what I've had to say, now I'm interested to hear what you think as well. If you enjoyed this highlight from the show and want to watch more highlights from the show as they come out after the show's completion, you should definitely subscribe to the YouTube channel, and if you're interested in listening to the entire show in its full-length entirety, you should follow the show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Anchor. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you all very soon.